Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going fabulous. We're going to play today with the Craft-A-Flower Cosmos Layering Die Set from Altenew. This is brand new. It is part of their subscription, but it's also sold outside the subscription. The nice thing about the Craft-A-Flowers is you save money if you subscribe every month, but it's available if you don't want to subscribe and just like a certain one, which makes it really nice. This is called Cosmos. It's a beautiful 2-flower set. It has some skinny stems with some pretty leaves, and we're gonna do some die cutting. That's what the Craft-A-Flower sets are basically die cutting. You know what? I'm gonna bring in a trio of colored cardstock from light to dark to do my die cutting, but Altenew has some sets about this size already in a little book. So it makes it super easy. I'll list them down below if you guys want to look at those. They're pretty inexpensive, but they have a wide variety of colors. And that way you don't have to choose your light through darks. Altenew does it for you. Now, Altenew does have some adhesive sheets. I'm going to use those to put on back of my cardstock. Just makes creating with the Craft-A-Flower sets so much easier because basically you're just turning them into stickers. So I'm just going to add all of my colored cardstock. I have blues, teals, I would say, and then some golden colors, and then I did have a green piece of cardstock for my leaves. I adhered them all to a sheet of my double-sided adhesive paper here. We're going to separate them. Once they're separated, we can do some die cutting. Now, normally with the Craft-A-Flowers, it's almost like layering stamps. You take your lightest with your most solid image, and then you take your darkest with your the smallest layering image in the set. I'm going to do the opposite today. I thought we would take the most solid image and die cut it out with the darkest cardstock, and then the second layer we're going to of course do the medium cardstock. For my flower centers, I'm using white and gold. The white will be the biggest portion of my flower center, and then the gold will be the accent piece on the very top. I just wanted a little bit of shine on my cards today. I did have some leftover adhesive sheets, so I'm just putting them on some small strips. Now for the stems and the leaves, we're going to die cut out 4 stems, 4 leaves. For the flower centers, you want to do the same. This Craft-A-Flower set is called Cosmos again, and it does create 2 real pretty Cosmos flowers. And so we're going to need 4 flowers for our 2 projects today. And so we're going to need, of course, 4 stems, 4 flower centers, and we're going to do some die cutting. Let's take the most solid image, which is this one. Again, normally you would put this on your lightest first. I'm doing the complete opposite. I wanted some very pale backgrounds, so I thought if we put the darkest in the back, the flowers would really stand out. The flowers are gorgeous either way, I would say. This is our middle dies, and then we have the smaller ones, which are we're going to use for our lightest cardstock. I'm going to do the same thing with the yellows and the teals. Once everything is die cut, we can craft a flower. We're going to start off, I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. But when you use adhesive sheets, it just makes it so much easier, like I said, because it's just stickers. You don't have to fuss with glue or getting it on your hands. Basically, you're just peeling and sticking. That's what I love about these sets. Okay, we are going to I'm going to use my craft pick to remove the release paper. It just makes it easier. And these flowers are 5 layers. So you have 3 flower petal pieces and then 2 centers. We'll take our mid-tone cardstock, put it on top of our darkest. And again, directions here you can see say take the most solid piece and use our lightest color of cardstock. You can see the flower that it creates. Super pretty, but you know, I always like to think outside the box a little bit. And I think they're stunning again either way. Once this is adhered, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with our middle tone teal color. We'll add that to our dark blue, and they line up beautifully. There is a little guide on the very front of your package showing you how to line them up, but I think the Craft-A-Flowers are pretty forgiving. They don't have to be exact or perfect. Okay, now we're going to take our last lightest color, place this in the center. Basically, you could follow the guide on your packaging, but sometimes just twisting and turning it, they'll fall right into place. Makes it easy too. Okay, once we have our flower centers done, those are our 3 layers, we can go ahead and add our flower centers. Well, actually, we'll do these flowers first. Just remove the release paper, add this one. That one was a little bit detailed when you die cut. There is a very thin connection on one of those petals, so you want to be real careful when you die cut that out. We'll do the same with our teal. Add this one. Okay, flower centers are added. First, again, we're going to add our white cardstock, and then I'm going to add the gold on top. I just wanted the white to be peeking out and the gold to be nice and sparkly on our card. So pretty. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to our second flower, and then we're going to set these aside and create our backgrounds. I'm going to do a little bit more die cutting. We're going to grab some white cardstock, and I'm going to use 2 dies. Just going to punch out these pieces before we get started. Oh, and then for the leaves, there are 3 leaves in the, you can see my stems, a small and a short one, but the leaves I did die cut out 2 of the smaller leaf sets. These are the dies we're going to use, the big bold things. Actually, it's not big bold, it's just bold things. And then we're going to use the grid cover die to create some backgrounds. Now, what I did is added adhesive behind my bold things here. It has an outline things, and then it has the letters that you can put on top of it. The letters are separate. So I thought if we had it adhesive backed, turning them into stickers, I could just remove them and stick them on top of our outline. I chose tone on tone. I'm using a white. I wanted it to be there, but not be there, kind of. I wanted the flowers to really stand out, and I think this is a great way to do it. I'm actually going to do this process 5 times. I'm going to create an entire background with the word thanks, and I just think this is going to turn out perfect. So all you do now is basically you can remove it, and you have a thanks background. You can see once you remove it, the outline of the letters make it stand out a little bit better than white on white. But I'm not going to put the thanks on white. There's my little letters. And then I did do the grid cover die on white cardstock too. It'll create a card front panel. For my background, we're going to create a watercolor background. So I'm going to bring in my craft mat. And then to do this, I'm going to be using my Winter Wonderland watercolor markers. These are so nice, and they're bright and bold. I'm going to be using 2 colors from this set, the Lagoon and the Citrus Burst. I'm just adding Citrus Burst to my mat, a little bit of the Lagoon. Again, these are really bold colors, a little bit more yellow on the top and the sides here. And then I'm going to spray some water over my ink, and then we're just going to do a little bit of smushing. I have some Canson XL watercolor cardstock sheets that I trimmed down to card front sizes. I'm just going to add them. Any open areas that I didn't get with my watercolor, I'll just pick it up and just kind of move it so my entire background is covered. Just do a little bit more smushing there. I'm going to do the same thing with another panel. I'm not going to add any more ink. There's plenty left on my mat here, so I'm going to just add some more water. Just do a little bit more spraying with it. It's going to dilute it a little bit more, but that's okay. We can have a bold watercolor background and a softer one, you can see. I'm going to use my heat gun. Actually, this one we're going to add a little more yellow. But I am going to use my heat gun to dry my panels. If you want to air dry them, that's perfectly fine. I think when you air dry them, it makes the colors a little bit more organic. Okay, these are my panels, all ready to go. I'm going to remove my mat. I'll clean this up a little bit later. But for my lightest watercolor background, we're going to take the paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim down 1/4 inch off of all 4 sides. This is going to leave me a border on my card base, and that's the panel that we're going to use with our bold things. So we're just trimming 1/4 inch all the way around. So basically we're trimming it down to 3 3/4 inches by 5. Once this is done, we're going to go ahead and add our thanks. Since they're peel and stick, it's going to make it super easy. I am going to create my card bases really fast. I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and Altenew has a brand new bone folder, and it's actually pretty amazing. I love the size of it. I have one, but it's a lot bigger and bulky. This one is really nice. I do recommend it, and I'll link it down below if it's available yet. It's new to the shop. Okay, we're going to add a score line at the 5.5 inch mark. Just fold it over to create some top folding cards. And then our card base is ready. Now for our panel, going back to our thanks stickers, I'm going to basically layer them all in the background. I'm going to start off one to the left and then put the next one a little bit to the right, so that we're going to kind of create a zigzag thanks on our panel, kind of evenly spacing them so we have the right amount of gaps between them all. This one needs to go down a little bit more, but I think that looks fun. Okay, we're going to flip this over. I'm going to load it up with some adhesive, and then we're going to add this to our card front. And then this one is ready to go. I thought you can mix and match any colors of Cosmos flowers you want. You can add a whole card front full, but for this card I'm just going to use the 2 fuller flowers, and we're going to place them a little bit to the left, just so you can at least see one thanks, and then the rest are of course covered, but at least you know what's behind there. I think this is going to work out great. I am going to create a secondary sentiment later on for that card. Now for this card, we're going to take the entire watercolor panel, adhere it to our card front, so the entire piece is covered. We're doing this because our grid cover die that we die cut out with white cardstock is a card front size. So it works out perfectly, and you have that watercolor behind it. I think the effect that this gives is really nice. That's the nice thing too about the grid cover, is you can trim it down to any size you want. I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 flowers here. The same 2 flower types, just different colors, and I have them from the bottom lower left corner kind of going up to the top right. And then after we have this done, we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiments. I'm using the block sentiments stamp set. Love this set. I love that there's some solid block sentiments. I chose the one that says "You are amazing" to go with my thank you card. And then for my other Cosmos card, I chose the sentiment that says "Stronger than yesterday." I think that's a beautiful sentiment and so encouraging for this time of year. I'm stamping on white and black cardstock, and we're going to do some heat embossing, so I'm using my anti-static pattern tool, going over both cardstock pieces. I'm going to stamp "You are amazing" with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink on some white cardstock. And then after we have this stamped, I'm going to go over this with some clear embossing powder, just so it's nice and shiny. And it doesn't smear. That helps out too. We'll just cover it. We're not going to heat set it just yet. We'll heat set both of these at the same time. So once we have this done, I'm going to take my "Stronger Than Yesterday" sentiment. I'm going to ink that up with my Versamark ink, stamp it on the black cardstock here, and then this one we're going to add some white embossing powder. So basically we're kind of doing the opposite. Okay, I'm bringing in my heat gun. We're going to melt our sentiments, and then I am going to take my paper trimmer and block each one of these off and add foam adhesive behind them. Again, we're going to put the "You are awesome" in front of the flowers on the thanks card, and then the "Stronger Than Yesterday" we're going to add to our grid card here. Okay, we're going to add a few bells and whistles. I'm just going to bring in some golden colored gems. I'm just using my glue pen to adhere them. And that finishes off my cards today, guys, using the Altenew Craft-A-Flower for this month. It's called Cosmos. And again, Altenew has a bundle too. They have the stamp, or the die set alone. They also have a bundle that has the cardstock to go with it. And then they also have the subscription. If you want to head over to my blog, this video is part of a blog hop that's happening right now. Lots of inspiration with the Craft-A-Flower layering die set. The Cosmos flower is so pretty, and I think you're going to be really inspired. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.